Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into the book of John, specifically chapter 9.
That's right. And we're drawing heavily from a great resource for the study guide on John 9 from the You Need Faith in Jesus team.
Exactly. So our aim today is to, well, unpack the layers here. It's the story of the man born blind, but it's so much more than just the miracle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We want to explore the deeper truth, things about God's purpose, about obedience, and what it really means to see. And we'll be sticking with the King James Version for our references today.
And right off the bat, John 9 hits you with this stark contrast. You see Jesus demonstrating quite literally his claim to be the light of the world. But then you have this paradox.
The man who starts physically blind gains spiritual sight, while the ones who can see, the religious leaders, well,
They end up completely blind spiritually. It's striking.
it's a total reversal. Jesus uses this physical healing to reveal something much deeper about judgment, about who's truly open to the light and who insists they can see just fine in the dark. It's that clash between, head knowledge and genuine revelation.
Okay, so let's start where the chapter starts. Jesus and the disciples, they see this man, born blind. Been like that his whole life.
And the disciples' immediate reaction, it speaks volumes about the prevailing mindset.
Right, their first question isn't about compassion, it's about cause, blame.
Exactly. It's recorded in John chapter 9, verse 2. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?
You know, it's fascinating and kind of horrifying what's packed into that culture. They genuinely believed serious suffering had to be a direct result of some specific sin. Either his parents did something terrible
Or even some speculated maybe he sinned in the womb or pre-existed and sinned. It sounds wild to us maybe, but the core idea was firm. Suffering equals punishment.
Yeah, that connection was deeply ingrained. You see it elsewhere too, like in Luke 13, verses 1 to 5, where Jesus corrects people, assuming victims of tragedy were worse sinners.
Right. It added this awful layer of guilt onto physical suffering. Your pain wasn't just pain, it was evidence of your wrongdoing or your family's. A terrible burden.
So Jesus' answer is, well, it's revolutionary. He doesn't just answer the question. He completely reframes the whole concept of suffering.
He lifts their eyes from the past, the why did this happen, to the present and future, the what can God do now?
It's one of the most profound moments, I think. John chapter 9, verse 3 gives us his answer.
Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him.
Okay, but let's pause there. Some people might hear that and think, wait, did God make him blind just so he could heal him later? That sounds kind of harsh, maybe? Like using someone's decades of suffering for a demonstration?
That's a really important question and a fair one. The text doesn't say God caused it. It says the blindness exists in this broken world, and God, being sovereign, isn't limited by that brokenness.
So it's more about redemption than orchestration of the suffering itself.
Exactly. Jesus is saying, you're stuck looking backward for blame. I'm focused on how God's glory can shine through this present darkness. The man's lifelong condition becomes the perfect canvas, if you will, for displaying God's restorative power. It wasn't punishment, it was an opportunity for God's work to be revealed.
That distinction changes everything. It means our trials aren't necessarily fallout from failure. They could be arenas for God's power.
Precisely. And that idea of present opportunity flows right into Jesus' next point about his own mission. There's an urgency here.
He links the purpose behind the man's suffering to the limited time he has. John chapter 9, verse 4. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work.
You can feel the intensity. Day is his earthly ministry, this window of opportunity before the cross.
And night.
Night represents the end of that specific period, when these kinds of public, undeniable works might cease, or at least change form. It implies an urgency not just for him, but for us too, right?
Yeah, it suggests we share in that mission, that we have our own day to work.
Yeah.
We need to act now.
Absolutely. And then he anchors it all by restating his identity, connecting it directly to the miracle he's about to perform. John chapter 9, verse 5. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world.
It's not just a nice phrase. He's saying, I am the source of light, and I'm about to prove it by bringing light to eyes that have only ever known darkness.
Okay, so he makes this huge flame, I am the light of the world, and then...
And then he spits on the ground and makes mud pies.
Slight chuckle. Basically, yes, it's unexpected. John chapter 9, verse 6 tells us, When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay.
Why such a, well, earthy method? Why not just speak the word? He did that other times.
It's fascinating. I think there are a couple things going on. First, it demolishes any idea of a magic formula. God isn't bound by one method. Sometimes it's a word, sometimes touch, sometimes mud. He's sovereign and creative.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No putting God in a box.
Right. And second, think about the ingredients. Dirt, clay.
The stuff of creation.
Yeah.
Like Adam being formed from the dust.
Exactly. It's like Jesus, the creator himself, is performing an act of recreation, using the basic elements to restore what was broken. It's messy, tangible, and deeply symbolic. He's undoing the effects of the fall right there.
Wow, I hadn't quite seen it that way. A messy act of recreation. But the mud isn't the whole story, is it? There's an instruction.
No. The man now has this clay on his eyes, and Jesus tells him what to do next. John chapter 9, verse 7. And said unto him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam.
And John adds that little parenthetical note, which is crucial.
Yes, which is by interpretation sent.
Yeah.
Then the verse concludes, He went his way, therefore, and washed, and came seeing.
Siloam means sent. The man is sent by the one who is sent by the Father, the light of the world. His obedience is the key.
Absolutely critical. The miracle hinged on his response. Imagine him blind, mud on his face, being told to navigate his way to this specific pool. He could have argued, complained, questioned the sanity of it all.
But he didn't.
He just went. He went his way, therefore, and washed. Simple, unquestioning obedience. That's faith in action.
He reminds me so much of Naaman.
Yes. The story in 2 Kings, chapter 5, verses 10 through 14, Naaman, the powerful Syrian commander with leprosy.
The prophet Elisha tells him, through a messenger no less, just go dip 7 times in the muddy Jordan River.
And Naaman is furious. He expected a grand gesture, some ceremony. He says basically, aren't the rivers back home cleaner and better than this muddy ditch? His pride almost cost him his healing.
His servants had to talk him into it. Contrast that with this blind man. No status, nothing to lose maybe, just simple trust in the one who gave the command.
And that's often how God works, isn't it? He gives instructions that might seem strange or too simple or beneath us, and the breakthrough comes when we obey anyway, setting aside our pride or our own logic.
So he obeys, he washes, and boom, he can see. The reaction from the neighbors is chaos.
Utter confusion. These people saw him begging every single day. John chapter 9, verse 8. The neighbors, therefore, and they which before had seen him that he was blind, said, Is not this he that sat and begged?
Some said yes, some said no. Maybe he just looks like him. They couldn't reconcile the man they knew with the man standing before them seeing.
It was such a radical transformation. It broke their categories of reality.
And when they finally asked the man himself, his explanation is beautifully simple. No theology, just the facts.
He just tells them what happened. John chapter 9, verse 11, A man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed mine eyes and said unto me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received my sight.
That's it. A man named Jesus told me to do something. I did it, and now I see. He doesn't even know who Jesus really is yet.
But he knows his experience. And that simple personal testimony that's powerful, it's unarguable.
So the neighbors are amazed, confused. And what do? They take him to the authorities.
To the Pharisees. And this is where the mood shifts dramatically. The focus instantly pivots from the miracle itself to, well, rule-breaking.
It's jarring, isn't it? Instead of celebration, it's an investigation.
Yeah.
They zero in on the when.
Right. John chapter 9, verse 14 lays it out. And it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes.
And for them, making clay, even kneading dough, was considered work forbidden on the Sabbath according to their traditions.
So forget the fact that a man born blind can now see Jesus broke their rule. This immediately divides them.
Some conclude, flat out, Jesus can't be from God because he doesn't keep the Sabbath their version of the Sabbath.
It's a prime example of religious rules blinding people to God himself. They valued their traditions, the hedge they built around the law, more than the law's giver performing an act of incredible mercy.
Jesus talked about this directly, didn't he? Like in Mark chapter 7, verses 8 and 9, accusing them of setting aside God's commands to hold on to human traditions.
Exactly that. But interestingly, the miracle was so potent, it caused a split, even among the Pharisees.
Yeah, others pipe up with basic logic.
They ask essentially, how can a man that is a sinner do such miracles?
Yeah.
Even within the rigid system, some recognize that this kind of power didn't align with their definition of a sinner. The evidence was just too strong.
And amidst all this debate, notice the healed man. His understanding is growing.
Yes, they push him again. What do you say about him? Seeing he opened your eyes. And his answer shows development. In verse 11, he called him a man named Jesus.
John chapter 9, verse 17. He said he's a prophet.
He's starting to recognize divine authority. This isn't just some random guy. This is someone speaking and acting for God. But the skeptics aren't convinced.
No, they double down. They think maybe the whole story is fake. Let's get the parents in here.
They're hoping the parents will contradict the story, maybe admit he wasn't really born blind, or this isn't even their son. Anything to discredit the miracle.
But the parents confirm the basics.
Yeah.
Yes, this is our son. Yes, he was born blind.
But when it comes to how he was healed or who healed him, they clam up.
They say he's old enough. Ask him. Why? Fear.
Pure fear. John chapter 9, verse 22 spells it out. These words spake his parents because they feared the Jews. For the Jews had agreed already that if any man did confess that he was Christ, he should be put out of the synagogue.
And being put out of the synagogue wasn't just like getting kicked out of a club.
Oh, no. It was social and economic death. The synagogue was the hub of Jewish life, religion, community, business, everything. Excommunication meant becoming a total outcast, losing everything.
It's a terrifying prospect. So the parents chose self-preservation over testifying to the incredible miracle that happened to their own son.
Fear is such a powerful silencer, isn't it? Especially fear leveraged by institutions.
And their silence makes their son's growing boldness even more remarkable. He's facing the same threat, but he chooses a different path.
Okay, so the parents were a dead end for the Pharisees. Plan B, pressure the man again.
They haul him back in.
Yeah.
And they try this weird religious manipulation tactic. Give God the praise, they tell him.
Right. Acknowledge God did this, but we know this man Jesus is a sinner. They're trying to force him to agree with their verdict on Jesus.
It's like saying, sure, something good happened, but credit the generic God and condemn the specific agent.
But the man isn't playing their game. He refuses to get drawn into their theological weeds. He sticks to what he knows for sure.
And his answer in John chapter 9, verse 25 is just.
Yeah.
It's the bedrock of personal faith, isn't it?
Absolutely classic. He answered and said, whether he be a sinner or no, I know not. One thing I know, that whereas I was blind, now I see.
That's it. That's the tweet. I don't have all the theological answers. I wasn't there for your debates. But here's my undeniable reality. I was blind. Jesus did something. Now I see.
And that personal experience, that transformation story, it's the most potent form of witness any of us have. It bypasses intellectual arguments. It cuts through religious jargon. It's just true for you.
But the Pharisees just won't let it go. They're like dogs with a bone. What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? They keep probing, looking for a loophole.
And you can almost see the man's confidence swell. Maybe it's exasperation, maybe it's divine boldness, but he turns the tables on them.
With some serious sass, too.
Yeah, he basically says, look, I already told you and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? And then the zinger in John chapter 9, verse 27. Will ye also be his disciples?
Oof. Imagine saying that to the Pharisees. This former beggar, considered ritually unclean, suggesting they might want to follow the guy they just called a sinner. The audacity.
Predictably, they explode. It goes straight to insults and appeals to tradition. John 9, verses 28 and 29. Then they reviled him and said, Thou art his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spake unto Moses. As for this fellow, we know not from whence he is.
We have the pedigree. We follow Moses, this fellow. We don't know his credentials. It's pure defensiveness and pride.
They're clinging to the past, rejecting the present manifestation of God's power right in front of them.
But the man, this supposedly ignorant beggar, proceeds to give them a theology lesson. And it's brilliant.
Flawless logic. He starts by pointing out the irony. Isn't it amazing that you, the experts, don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes?
Then he lays down a theological principle they themselves would agree with. John chapter 9, verse 31. Now we know that God heareth not sinners. But if any man be a worshipper of God, and doeth his will, him he heareth.
Basically, you claim Jesus is a sinner, but we all know God doesn't listen to or empower active sinners, especially not for this kind of miracle. He listens to those who worship and obey him.
So the miracle itself testifies against their accusation.
Precisely. And then he emphasizes the sheer uniqueness of the event. John chapter 9, verse 32. Since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind?
He's saying, this isn't just a miracle. This is unprecedented. Something only God could do.
Which leads to his inescapable conclusion in John chapter 9, verse 33. If this man were not of God, he could do nothing.
Checkmate. He used their own beliefs, their own scriptures implicitly, to prove Jesus must be from God.
They have no answer to his logic. They can't refute the reasoning. They can't deny the evidence standing right there. So what's left?
Attack the man, not the argument, and silence him.
It's ugly. John chapter 9, verse 34. They answered and said unto him, Thou wast altogether born in sins, and dost thou teach us? And they cast him out.
How dare you, born in sin, lecture us? Their pride is wounded, their authority is challenged, and rather than reconsider, they resort to power and exclusion, ultimate spiritual blindness.
So the man is thrown out, rejected by the entire religious system, cut off.
But that's not the end of his story. What happens next is incredibly moving.
It really is. Jesus doesn't leave him there. John chapter 9, verse 35 tells us, Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him.
Jesus actively sought him out. Think about that. When the world, or even the religious world, rejects you for your faith in him, Jesus comes looking for you.
It's a beautiful picture of Christ's care for those who suffer for his name. He finds the outcast.
And now Jesus takes him deeper. The physical healing was just the start. He moves towards spiritual salvation.
He asks him the most important question, verse 35 again. He said unto him, Dost thou believe on the Son of God?
This is a step beyond prophet.
Yeah.
This is about divinity, about messiahship.
And the man's response is so humble, so ready. He essentially says, I want to. Just tell me who he is so I can believe. Verse 36, he answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him?
He's open, teachable, waiting.
And Jesus gives him the full revelation. John chapter 9, verse 37. And Jesus said unto him, Thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talketh with thee.
You're looking right at him. You're talking to him now.
Yeah.
Imagine that moment. The physical sight now meets spiritual recognition.
The journey is complete. And the man's response is immediate and profound. John chapter 9, verse 38. And he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him.
From blindness to sight to belief to worship. That's the progression. True sight leads to adoration.
And this beautiful moment of personal faith then becomes the backdrop for Jesus's final sobering pronouncement about the purpose and effect of his coming.
The judgment part, John chapter 9, verse 39. And Jesus said, For judgment I am come into this world, that they which see not might see, and that they which see might be made blind.
Now that word judgment can sound harsh. It's maybe better understood here as a separation or a revealing.
Like a light switch being flipped.
Sort of. His presence, his light, forces a choice. Those who admit they're in the dark and need light, like the blind man, receive sight. But those who insist they can see perfectly fine already, even though they're in darkness, like the Pharisees, well, the light only confirms and exposes their self-imposed blindness. He doesn't make them blind. He reveals they are blind.
And some Pharisees are still hanging around, listening, and they pick up on this immediately.
Their pride is pricked again. They ask, dripping with sarcasm, in John chapter 9, verse 40, And some of the Pharisees which were with him heard these words, and said unto him, Are we blind also?
Us, blind, don't be ridiculous.
And Jesus' final response in this chapter is devastating. He basically says, if you were genuinely ignorant, if you truly couldn't see, you wouldn't be held accountable for rejecting the light.
Ignorance can be an excuse to some extent.
But, Jesus says, because you proudly claim we see, because you insist on your spiritual insight while actively rejecting me, the clear evidence of God's light.
Therefore your sin remaineth. That's the conclusion in John chapter 9, verse 41.
Jesus said unto them, If you were blind, you should have no sin. But now ye say, We see, therefore your sin remaineth. Their claim to sight, coupled with their rejection of the light source, seals their guilt. Willful blindness is the most dangerous kind. #tag practical application and key takeaways.
Okay, we've walked through this incredible chapter. What are the big takeaways for us for you listening today?
Well, 3 core themes really stand out, drawing from the insights of the You Need Faith in Jesus team study guide as well. First, God's sovereignty in suffering. It's not always about blame, but often about his purpose being revealed.
Second, the power, the absolute necessity of simple obedience.
And third, the undeniable impact of personal experience, of testimony.
Let's drill down on that principle of obedience.
Yeah.
The mud, the pool of Siloam. It seemed weird, but the man just did it.
And that's the key, isn't it? God's power often flows when we act in faith on his specific instructions, even if they don't make sense to our logical minds or offend our pride. Think Naaman again, or this man. The instruction might seem odd, but obedience unlocks the blessing. We're called to that same unquestioning response.
It challenges our need to understand everything before we act. Faith acts first.
Exactly. Then there's the warning of religious sight. The Pharisees knew the scriptures inside out. They had incredible knowledge about God.
But they didn't know God. Their knowledge had become a barrier, a source of pride that blinded them to what God was doing right in front of them.
It's a caution for all of us, isn't it? We have to be careful that our doctrines, our traditions, even our correct knowledge don't become idols that prevent us from seeing a fresh work of the Spirit or hearing God's voice today. Are we genuinely open, or are we sure we already see?
In knowledge about God versus knowing God.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Huge. And finally, the anchor of testimony. When the pressure was on, when the experts tried to corner him.
He fell back on his story. One thing I know, I was blind. Now I see.
And that's our strongest defense, too. You might not win a debate, you might not have all the answers, but no one can argue with your genuine experience of transformation through Christ. Hold on to that. Share that. It's powerful because it's real. I was blind. Now I see.
So the challenge really comes back to us, doesn't it? As you listen, examine your heart. Are you approaching God like the blind man, aware of your need, desperate for his touch, ready to obey without question?
Or do we sometimes carry a bit of that Pharisee pride? Certain we've got it all figured out, maybe resistant to anything that challenges our understanding or comfort zone.
It's a call to humility, really.
Yeah.
Maybe the prayer we all need is simply, Lord, open my eyes. Help me see what you are doing.
Yeah.
#tag outro.
And there's one final thought that really lingers from this chapter.
Yeah.
The man gets healed, testifies boldly, and what's his reward from the religious system?
He gets thrown out, excommunicated, isolated.
Exactly. Rejected by the institution.
Yeah.
But in that very moment of rejection,
Jesus finds him. He gets the deepest possible connection, the full revelation of who Jesus is.
So the provocation for us is, where does our ultimate loyalty lie? Is it with the structures, the systems, the approval of the religious community, even when they might be missing the point?
Or is it with the light of the world himself, even if following him means standing apart, being misunderstood, or like this man, being cast out?
It's a profound question to reflect on. Where is your commitment truly centered?
A challenging thought to end on.
And just a reminder for your continued learning.
Next steps. To solidify your understanding of this lesson, be sure to use the flashcards to review key terms and then take the quiz. Passing the quiz will mark this lesson as complete.
Thanks for joining us today as we've explored John chapter 9, drawing from the insights of the You Need Faith in Jesus team.
We hope this has been enlightening, and we look forward to exploring the scriptures with you again next time on The Deep Dive.